Frank J. Avella with the Contending. Sacred Creatures just had its world premiere at the Edinburgh International Film Festival, and it features a wonderful performance by James Cusati-Moyer. Welcome, James.
Thanks for having me, Frank.
Thanks for being here and congratulations. It's a really, really affecting performance.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot.
So, how did this particular project come your way?
I came away a couple years ago. One of the producers, Chris Sanchez, has seen me in Slave Play on Broadway. And as he was writing this with Frida, my name came up through this role that she was crafting. And she hadn't seen Slave Play, but Chris did and recommended me for the jump. So that's how I got involved.
Tell me what attracted you to play Ray.
Well, there's something about the setting of the film that was always drawn to me, that was drawn to me then. Coming from an Italian American background, what is it like to return to your family, your roots, your genetics? What is it like to go to a place where perhaps you don't speak the language anymore because your family, well, in this case, is Canadian Italian. There was something about the displacement of this quite contemporary North American character in this sort of old world of the countryside of Italy. And what really drew me to Ray in particular was his there's a restlessness and a stubbornness within him. There is a real fight for attention and a place in this world that he is in now, having purpose with his new lover in this country, away from his family. What is it like for a person to find a sense of identity without having any real talent or skills to back that up? Um,
Hmm.
so for me, it was just mainly about the setting of Italy and what is it like to try and create a new life for oneself without much foundation besides a relationship.
I was curious. You brought that up, and when I'm part Sicilian, I'm
Yeah.
mostly Sicilian actually. And when I first went, I was in my 30s when I finally went and saw where my family was from and are still there, and it was like a sense of belonging almost when I got off the plane. It's like, oh my God, these people look like me. But
Mm.
after being there a month, I couldn't wait to leave. Because
Right.
everybody knew my business, and it was like I'm curious, where are you from, and did what was your experience like?
Yeah, it was interesting. So I actually I went to Italy for the first time a few years prior, and m most of my side of the family they immigrated from Napoli and Palermo, Sicily. And so I was vacationing in Florence and then Rome, and then I took the train down to Napoli, and it was there that I had that same experience where I saw their faces and their mannerisms, the way that they carried their attitude, the roughness, the sense of community on the side of the street, eating a meal or smoking a cigarette. I suddenly saw all my family and all my cousins and my aunts and uncles and my grandparents. And so traveling, to the north, where we shot this movie was interesting because I really, despite being of Italian roots, I did not look like I was from Civigliano, where we were living. And so we were in this small town with one square,
Mm.
and they definitely knew an outsider was there, and they would always, and the way Italian locals do, they watch you as you move about, and they're sizing you up and seeing what's your business about, where are you from. So that was an interesting thing because, as we know, the culture in the north of Italy is very different from the south.
Oh yeah,
And so they could really sense that I wasn't from there specifically.
that's so interesting. Well, the other part of the culture that's a part of the film is superstition. And yeah, I mean that's a big part of the film, and that whole spiritual nature, and I don't want to give too much of the plot away, but I'm curious about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's within Italian folklore and superstition and the spiritual mysticism side of the culture, there is the whole thing there and also obviously a devout relationship to the church, depending on the community within Italy. But that's another thing that drew me to the film was this cult-like belief in something greater than oneself. And in this film, it became in the form of a person, the person who plays my sister. And I think Ray and his sister Michelle are more skeptics in this fanaticism of a new icon or idol. And uh, it's hard for them to wrestle with. It's hard for them to see the town side and uh, how they idolize this new Canadian person coming into their territory. But that mysticism, floods throughout, and I think it exists in the spirit of the town and the intrigue in these very particular Italian characters throughout the film, and they each have their own individual relationship to it. And then you have these two Canadian Italian descent, really struggling with how, we deal with a lot of, Western medicine and uh, mental health and concern for our sibling. And so it's really about wrestling with, can we believe in something that we can't explain?
Yeah. Wait, and I wanted to speak a little bit about your relationship, or I should say Ray's relationship with Renzo. Because on the one hand, they appear to be this like hip, modern couple, and they seem to love one another, but there also seems to be I don't know exactly how to put it, a detachment there. What was your approach to that relationship?
My approach was, I think there was a detachment, and I think they're both sort of filling a void within each other that they can't explain. They're both using each other as a bit of a tool.
Mm,
Um, I think, with Ray's journey, he doesn't have, I think he wants a sense of belonging and he wants to be taken care of in a way. He doesn't need to have a particular career or source of income. And I think him being the baby, the youngest of the family with two other siblings, I think that he's acting from a place of selfishness and escapism. And Renzo is the one that provides that new world for him, whether it be the home, the relationship. I think that it served its purpose for a while, and now they're sort of stuck in this place of neither passion nor love, but a different sense of companionship, which at this point in their story of the relationship is getting a bit stagnant.
mm. Can you speak a little bit about your process and Frida's process, and did it meld? Do you find yourself like, because you come from the stage as well, is your process similar when you are starting new endeavors?
It really it's catered to the individual project. I don't have one process in particular. I think the first step is finding your way in to the character and the story. And Frida had a very specific vision for how this film was to be made and felt and seen. And it was an interesting there I was wrestling within myself because I knew tonally what the film was about, And I felt myself internally wrestling with, well, I wanted to be a part of that tonal film. But the truth is, and you know, I only watched the film once, is that Ray's character and Michelle, they really represent a different world and tone than the rest of the film.
Yeah.
So it sounds more contemporary and it sounds more flippant and it sounds more, it is less ethereal, it's less within the elements of the setting, that there's an energy that kind of goes against it. And I felt that during the filming, where Ray himself so desperately wants to be a part of that world and is envious of his sister Miriam melding in more quickly than he can. So throughout the process of filming that, it was interesting entering a scene. Seeing what the kitchen looked like, seeing what the outdoor setting looked like, entering a scene and knowing that no matter what I did, the words that I was saying were rubbing against the world that he was within. And so when I watched the film for the first time, I thought Frida's approach of where Ray fits into this story and where Michelle fits into this story is very different than the rest of the world. And it was important to have that contrast, but also uncomfortable to play within the shooting of it.
Mhm.
In an exciting way, in a healthy way, in a way that I haven't experienced yet. Especially with film and editing and you know, and music, you don't know exactly where it will all land. You don't know where. And so even when I was saying the words out loud, there was something that felt that was rubbing against, um, in an exciting way.
I think it's so important that that groundedness in reality is so important to the ending of the film too,
Yeah.
because and you're an essential part of that ending where it's that journey we go on and that moment at the end, and you're not again not giving too much away, but your reaction that we experience and we understand the ambiguity of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Ray, out of all the characters, Ray holds on to the skepticism the longest in the film. And without giving the ending away, like you said, he is the last person that has any sense of belief or reverence for what has transpired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's speak to the location because I mean, first of all, it must have been a treat to be filming in that part of Italy. But how did that also relate to, you spoke a little bit about, you know, the people and your interaction, but how did the setting matter to you in terms of Ray?
Well, you know, most of the setting we shot at the home where Renzo's character lives in and where Ray's character lives in, and so we were lucky enough to be in this home with this beautiful country setting, and we all sort of lived there as a company and as a crew, and it was really important and so special to constantly be surrounded by a mostly Italian crew where the words that were spoken most of the day were Italian. And it was a gift as an actor, as an American, to be in that type of setting because you were constantly immersed in the world that the film was in. And there was no escape. We weren't filming this on a lot in Los Angeles. We weren't pretending to be somewhere anywhere else where other than where we were. And so, in a beautiful way, by proxy, uh, the culture of this setting and this community, it filled us all up. The food we ate on our lunch breaks were all from local caterers.
Mm,
People came down from Torino, extras, other actors in the film. People came from Milan, people came from Rome. Antonio lives mostly in Naples and Rome. And uh, to be surrounded by them constantly was the greatest gift, and I really didn't want to leave.
mhm.
Uh, and you had no choice but to be immersed in that world.
Did you learn Italian for the film or did you already know?
I knew just a very little, and I learned more for the film. And then outside of the scenes itself, it was, you begin to understand through immersion. You begin to know what the crew and the costume crew and the set PAs and what everyone's talking about. You learn their mannerisms, their behavior, and you're able to understand what's going on around you. So I picked some up.
I first saw you in the revival of 6 Degrees.
Oh, great.
Yeah, which again, you played the hustle. You were great. A great cast. I mean, Allison Janney. Was that a good experience for you?
It was fantastic. I mean, it was my Broadway debut, and there was so much excitement, and lots of friends that I had grown up with through the theater were also in that production. And to have Alison Janney, John Benjamin Hickey, Corey Hawkins, it was a really special time. And it was. If you know anything about well, you saw it, but anyone who hasn't seen 6 Degrees, my role, it makes quite his debut and jumps out on stage without any clothing. So it was like a cannonball shot out to the New York theater scene for me, and um, yeah, that was quite special.
Yeah, and then honestly, I wasn't prepared for You Blew Me Away in Fire and Air.
Oh.
What a great, first of all, talk about a great cast. Marin Mazzie,
Mm,
Marsha Mason, John Glover. I mean, it just an incredible cast. But also, I think it's one of McNally's most underrated pieces, especially his later pieces.
mm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was towards the end of his life, and I believe it was the last play that he was in a rehearsal process for a new play. Um, so to have that experience with him, a writer that shaped me as a theater artist since I was young and read his plays since I started drama school, to originate a role as histrionic as Nijinsky and Diaghilev and the story of the Ballet Russe and uh, yeah, I'm really I was when I got out of school, I really was the luckiest. The collaborations that I had with these titans of the American theater, both actors, writers, and director, that was such a gift, and it was really those two experiences, 6 Degrees and Fire and Air, that were quite close to each other. Um, it, it set me up for a lot of dreaming and a lot of goals in mind for the types of roles and the types of material that I wanted to do. And I'm forever grateful for everyone that was involved and the fact that they had me.
Let's speak a little bit. I want to ask about Slave Play because I saw it at New York Theater Workshop and on Broadway, and that experience and COVID being tossed in there too. It went from off Broadway to Broadway to the Tonys to the West End. In retrospect, can you? I mean, it's a ridiculous question to ask you to synopsize what your thoughts are on it, but I'm going to anyway.
I can't think of it's such a rare opportunity for an actor in a play to have that long relationship with a play over the course of a few years. Um, and what Slave Play did, how it broke boundaries, excited the stage again, excited New York theater, created a scandal, made people think, have different conversations than they were having before. Um, I look back at that time with nothing but gratitude, uh, and immense joy, exhaustion.
Hmm.
There was, from to go off Broadway to Broadway, I'll never forget the first couple of previews that we had off Broadway, being so terrified about what the public was going to think, including Jeremy. We had no idea the storm that was about to follow. We had no idea the response. And I was walking with my castmate, Atu Blankson Wood, and we were walking up to the theater. This was during the fourth or fifth preview, and word had gotten out very quickly, and we were walking down the block of New York Theater Workshop, and we saw this line outside, and we thought, what's this? What's this line for? Is there a club on this street?
Hmm.
And it was for our play. It was to get tickets to our play. And to transfer to Broadway, COVID happening, not knowing what was going to happen with the Tonys, waiting a year before they decided that nominations were going to come out, waiting, I believe, another 6 months until the ceremony was actually going to happen. It was all a very, very strange time. And then to be able to return to it 4 years later in the summer of 24 in London, that was, I knew I needed to do that. And I told Jeremy that long ago. I said, if it ever goes to London, please, I would like to go. I've never performed in London before. I've never performed in the West End, and that was always a dream of mine. And so to return to a role 4 years later, 4 years older, having had many different experiences, a pandemic, uh, moving around, I was a different person. And so returning to the same words in the same role, in a different context was quite healing. There was something I hope new that I brought to it, and I was lucky to work with new actors, London actors, a new scene partner that only informed my performance even more. And it was such a gift to be able to grow and learn with the same words. That's such a rare opportunity. Actors don't really get to do that in plays often. You do a play, you transfer, and then to do it again years later, maybe for a reading, a benefit reading, but to live fully three different productions, and for it to be birthed from my car driving Jeremy up to Yale and him saying to me, "Can you please read this monologue? I wrote this role for you." So from my car back in 2017 to 2024 to see the birth of this play that changed history. Um, I mean, that's all I ever wanted in a career on the stage is to be a part of something like that.
What an extraordinary journey. When did you know, James, that you wanted to do what you're doing when you needed to do what you're doing?
From birth, from birth. It was from a very young age. There were no other artists in my family, and my grandmother introduced me to theater and musical theater when I was very young. And my mother owned a business across the street from my community theater, where I grew up in Pennsylvania. And I would go there for daycare starting at 6 years old. Um, and that's when I knew. And the plan was set. And I just kept going. There was no other choice, any other options.
What's coming up for you?
What's coming up for me? I'm doing a play in New York at the end of September. It's called The Perverse. It will take place at QNCC, which stands for the Queer Nightlife and Community Center. It's a world premiere play by Borna June, and he is an incoming. Well, he just started. He's part of the Juilliard playwriting program. Um, and so that's next. I'll be doing a film with Pete Owes in November. Again, another of his films, which I can't talk about much yet because I'm not sure he even has an idea of what it is yet. And
You
Yeah.
guys did the True Beauty of Being Bitten by a Tick, which is quite a an interesting little short. I really liked it.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, that was a wonderful experience.
Wow, well, that's exciting. I'm happy to know that you're going to be here on the New York stage again in September. I'll do my damnedest to be there.
Thank you. I hope you are.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time out to speak about the film and about your career, and just wish you continue on this great journey you're on.
Thank you so much, Frank. I appreciate it.
Thank you.